what we need to consider is that this demographic dividend or the surge in the youth population is not going to remain stagnant. By 2040, the youth quotient in India is going to decline, and by 2061, the median age of the population will be 40 years of age. So in last year, that is 2017, it was 27 years. So in a span of 20 years, in a span of 40 odd years, drastic change is going to happen in the youth population. So that is the base structure of what the youth angst in this country is about. And a state like Kerala will also face an atypical trend where the youth population or the youth quotient is going to decline more drastically than other states. So when states like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Rajasthan, which are comparatively backward states, will lose their demographic advantage later on, whereas the youth population, the working age population to the non-working age population, when that is going to decline much later, states like Kerala, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu will lose this advantage beforehand. That is, by 2020, the working age population will start declining in a state like Kerala. And that's what the Economic Survey of 2017 says. And the states like MP is going to do very well during that span, because their working age population will decline only in 2040. So I would say that talking about young people and talking about what has caused the angst or what is causing unrest among young people is of time is of essence here, and we really need to catch up with them, I guess. So it is not just about understanding what is causing the unrest. It's also about understanding their educational. It's not just about understanding their educational status or their economic status or social status. It is also about understanding what kinds of why do young people like certain kinds of films. As simple as that. What is this fashion statement which they are trying to make? What clicks with them? So it's not as simple as it sounds. This is because I think that it is important to know what youth think, because in a state like Kerala, I think a lot of young people who were addicted to their phones were absolutely instrumental in carrying the relief and rescue operations. So it is possible for them to do more, perhaps, but are we really paying enough attention to what they really want to do? I remember, okay, and now this reference is going to come as a jarring juxtaposition, but I'm reminding everyone of this person called Suresh Kochatil, who had come to Kerala and who said in a viral video that almost all people in Kerala are rich, and there is no need to provide relief measures to them because it is going to get misused, because anyway people in Kerala are rich or something like that. So this was propagated to the nooks and corners of the country through the BJP's IT cell. So Suresh Kochatil, my encounter with Suresh Kochatil happened much before that, because I report from Hyderabad and he was based out of Hyderabad. I saw this post which he had written on Facebook, which said that people in Hyderabad should not provide any sort of flood relief to student leaders in any of the universities in Hyderabad, because they are anyway going to misuse that. And that is what they did during Rohit Vemula agitation. That's what they did during Okhi devastation as well. So I found this very interesting, because a person who is associated with an IT cell was able to figure out that there is a connection between Rohit Vemula, students from Kerala who are studying in Hyderabad, and the development of a state called Kerala. He immediately figured it out, and he actually put it out as a post on Facebook. My worry is that our policymakers, despite sitting on all the boring data which I just presented to you about the demographic dividend, have not been able to figure this out. So the fact that we are not able to understand our young is definitely going to be a detrimental factor which will affect the way we function in this country, is what I feel. And the job at hand for a state like Kerala would be to make sure that the young people, who are so dynamic, even in universities in Hyderabad, JNU, where they are very proactive. They have been working towards a lot of things in other states. I think that these young voices should be taken into account, even in a state like Kerala. And for people who are living here, the proposition is even harder, I guess. I'm quoting Arundhati Roy and a particular reference to a particular hairstyle which she had introduced. So in God of Small Things, she describes Esther and Rahel like this. She says they never look too much, they never did look much like each other, Esther and Rahel. And even when they were thin-armed children, flat-chested, worm-ridden, and Elvis Presley puffed, there was none of the usual who's who and which is which from over-smiling relatives. Esther and Rahel's Elvis Presley puff, you see, that style was in words. Kerala readers lapped it up, and of course, Miss Roy brought home the Booker. But how do we look at, how does a state like Kerala look at somebody like Vinayakan? Vinayakan was a young man who was picked up for a petty theft case, in relation to a petty theft case, and he was allegedly interrogated in police custody, where police men asked him, made fun of his hairstyle. So he had almost a similar, he had a puff of hair which was similar to Elvis Presley puff, and it was shaved on the sides, you see, and I found it very cool. So the policemen asked him questions about this particular hairstyle, made fun of it, ridiculed him, and after whatever be it, after the interrogation, when he went back home, and he hanged himself. So how do we look at, and that's why I said that it is not easy to say that we need to know the fashion statements of young people in Kerala. Because fashion statements fashion statements are so loaded that it is difficult to make sense of them, just like that. So the question here is that, will such a case, will Vinayakan's case repeat in a Kerala which is resilient, which has rebuilt itself? So, Marathi writer Sharan Kumar Limbale, in an interview in 2017, said, there is only Hindu literature now and not Indian literature. He was talking about dominant cultures which are constantly replicated in art, be it in literature or cinema. But I, however, believe that with Vinayakan and Rohit Vemula and several other people, this dominant culture is getting redefined, especially through the eyes of this younger generation. So when even political leaders, young political leaders like Jignesh Mevani, I find him a towering figure in Indian politics. So now Jignesh Mevani works in icons, in symbols and icons all the time. So when he lifts up, when he stands in a crowd and lifts up a copy of the Indian Constitution in one hand and the Manusmriti in the other, and asks the Prime Minister of the country, which one will you choose? It immediately clicks with a lot of people out there, not just young, though old as well. So and similar images, have surfaced in different parts of the country, and these are only my encounters with some of them. So in Uttar Pradesh, right before Uttar Pradesh elections in 2017, I came across a video of these young musicians who was sitting around and singing a particular song with dole to the accompaniment of drums. So the song, which is in Hindi, it said, "Roz savere mandir jata, rakhta hai mangal upwas, ye Bhim Rao ka Dalit nahi hai, ye Gandhi ka Harijan hai." So it roughly translates to the person who goes to the temple fasts on Tuesdays, but not Bhim Rao's, that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's Dalits, but they are Gandhi's Harijans. So and cutting directly from there to Kerala, where an actor, 43-year-old actor, Vinayakan, right, won the Kerala State Award. So he came up on stage in a very formal function, and he said, "For all my audience, a big boom." All right. So, and there were people, thousands of people who were cheering him in slums, in multiplexes, in middle class households, living rooms of plush flats, and God knows where all. And this culture of representation. It's not okay. I shouldn't say representation. It goes the wrong way. So this is not the culture of representation. This is actually culture of creation, I feel, and this is a narrative which will come into fore more often than not. It will come into fore more often now, because I feel that. And I think my book, which is titled "The Ferment," it argues that there is a young public, there is a public in the making, and this public will constantly throw in the faces of politicians, aging politicians, younger politicians, whoever be it, and it will constantly throw in the face of society, the institutions of democracy, be it judiciary or executive or legislative. This cultural representation, not just a cultural representation, political expressions, which will not make sense unless you really know what the struggles which have gone through, which have been going on for the past 10 years or the past 20 years have been. So, now what I'm about to say is reducing it to statistics, and which is a very wrong tendency, but I'll try to resurrect the argument from there. So, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment had recorded a monumental increase in literacy rates of scheduled caste population, and this is a huge increase, 19.91% in 1981, as close as 1981, to 66.1% in 2011. So in the year 2004-05, gross enrollment ratio of scheduled caste students in upper primary was 71.89%, which is higher than 69.57% of other category students. So this is absolute. I'm absolutely reducing it, but this is just an indication. If people are overtly fixated on data, so this is an indication that a generation of people have come into education, suddenly into higher education, middle level school education, and some of them would definitely have made it to higher educational institutions. So the composition of university campuses over a period of time, and a very short period of time, have actually, the composition has actually changed. So, and that is what causes something and that is what causes huge protests in a very placid, very calm campus like University of Hyderabad. There were student suicides even earlier in the University of Hyderabad, but a Rohit Vemula agitation could come up from there because of this monumental change which had happened. So while trying to rebuild anything, while trying to cherish the culture of resilience, what I think we should do is also, as academics, as policy makers, as journalists, I think that these different kinds of political expressions which have come up, or expressions of life itself, these articulations should not be looked at with suspicion. So if you say that, in that song which I read out, if you say that, oh God, you're insulting the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, half of the people who sang that song will say that, no boss, I mean, we were not trying to do that. We are trying to make a different sort of an argument. So this will always be a culture of confrontation which we'll have. And I think that for some time, these breaches and negotiations will continue to happen in India. And it is, and while these breaches and negotiations are happening, I think that it is absolutely important for any sort of policymakers to keep their eyes and minds open. So that killings like that of deaths like that of Rohit Vemula and Vinayak and all these things will not happen. I think rebuilding something also means that you have to raise to ground the existing raise to ground the failings of the past. So to rebuild something, especially an egalitarian state, you might have to raise to ground the failings of the past. So that would mean that, at the death of the killing of Madhu, a young Adivasi boy who was killed because he allegedly stole some food, or that of Kevin, a Dalit Christian who was killed because of intercaste marriage. All these things will have to change in some way or the other, and to for that change to happen, the voice of these youngsters who have been living across the country, who have faced a lot, who have been struggling, who have carried the burden of their previous generations into their lives, and who are trying to move forward into a future in 21st century India. I think that these voices should be heard. And so when the state, as a state, when Kerala celebrates the cultures of resilience, I think that all these struggles should be acknowledged. And then I think that it is possible we'll be able to see a brave new world instead of a very scared and old world. So I think I'll conclude with that, and thanks a lot for listening to me and being patient. Thank you.